Okay, let's get started. First of all, thank you so much for coming to my session. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Koji Takeuchi. Volume?
Speak louder.
Really?
Yeah, speak where you speak.
Oh, speak. Oh, thank you. Speak louder.
Yes,
Is it good?
thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Again, Koji Takeuchi from Tokyo, Japan. And doing develop training and setup and administrating server, blah, blah, blah. And playing guitar and vocal in a band, but not really great at them. And my apologies at the first of my session. Some people think I'm good at speaking English, but I'm so sorry. It's common misunderstanding. Seriously, I'm only good at faking English or pretending a good English speaker. It's totally different, unfortunately. So in my session, sometimes you may feel hard to understand what I say because of my bad accent or bad grammar. Please just leave it, ignore it. Maybe it's not a big deal. And please forgive me if I'm looking at my memos too many times. Please look at this direction, not this. So first of all, we'll talk about what is Crosstab reporting. You know, it's not very easy to make it on FileMaker. But I'd like to introduce you some easier approach, which I called hard ways. And after that, we will talk about disadvantages of hard ways and talk about how to fix it. Probably the soft way is the solution. And the target of this session, of course, this session is for FileMaker developers, but not only for developers. It's also for the project managers and the bosses and VPs, like who making decision about system introduction or direction. Surely, all of them except just as an operator. So, all of you come to my session are in definitely right session. Believe me, I swear. Our report, where the data contains multiple columns and rows, and summarize it vertically and horizontally. The cells at right end are horizontally summaries. And the cells at the bottom is on the vertical summaries. And maybe the grand total of the bottom right. Actually, it's the left for me, but you're right. We've commonly seen in spreadsheets like Excel. So, what kind of summaries are easy on FileMaker? Maybe one is summary of multiple fields on the same record, or summary of same field across the multiple records. The first one summarizes the data horizontally, the second one vertically. But if the structure of the data modeling of the database is good enough, appropriate enough, we may want to summarize the same field across the multiple records. But on FileMaker, it's hard to put the same field of multiple records side by side on the same row. FileMaker is not designed for like that. Then we are going to talk about how can we do that. But before we get into specific things, we'd better to discuss why FileMaker. We can export data from FileMaker and do it on Excel, of course. Yes, we can do it on Excel's pivot table. Is anyone did that? Okay. Pretty popular. I knew that. It's not very difficult, and it's not very slow on Excel. It sounds like that's enough, and that's the solution. And this session reached to the final answer. Thank you. No, of course not. But if you asked by your boss something like, show me monthly sales report of this fiscal year. And of course, it must include previous year's amount to compare them. And I want to see the differences in percentage. Probably making Excel report is not really hard work for you. But still, you have to do it by your hands. For your boss, not for you. But once you develop nice cross-tab reporting in FileMaker, you can say, of course you can do it to your boss. By yourself. And it's none of my business. The last part may not necessary, but anyway, you're free from the request basis on-demand reporting. That's why on FileMaker. So let's talk about how can we make it. First one is very easy. It's creating calculation fields for each column. So assume the records we are about to summarize an amount field, of course, and maybe it also have a date field. Then add a calculation field which returns amount field value only if the month of the date field's value is January. This field returns only if it's January and ignore anything else. Then we need to create 12 fields, January to December. It's like putting vertical thing to horizontal by force. Then we will make column summaries by creating summary fields for each calculation field. It means we have to create 12 summary fields as well. I know Some of you don't like this, but this is very easy to make it. And this technique was introduced by the little bit old FileMaker training textbooks, like FileMaker training series several years ago. Then I'd like to show you how it works. So there are some entries of the invoice data, some entry to summarize. Now I hit the monthly sales report button. It's summarized by each product by two directions. Then how much in this month and how much in this month, and the total summary of every month of these products are on the right, and total summary of every product of each month on the bottom. So, in short, please imagine the field amount is a calculation field. And the calculation is simply unit price multiplied the quantity. Then create another calculation field which returns amount field data like this. It returns amount field data only if the value of that field of the record is January. Otherwise, it returns nothing. Create 12 same fields for each 12 January to December. And there's something more. We need summary fields for each calculation field. So we need 12 summary fields of each calculation field. You know, all we have to do is to put the 12 summary field into one row horizontally. You know, it sounds pretty much like forcibly, doesn't it? And we also need normal summary field, which just returns total of original amount field. And it's used for right total. So it's easy, isn't it? This is the easiest way. There's another example of hard ways, which I like to show you. This is make it by relationships 1. In this case, we are seeing everything from product table. Start from product, then make some relationships to sales table, and summarize sales data. The sales table means line item records, which we saw on invoice layout. Then it's like creating 12 TOs from January to December instead of creating 12 fields. And create few more tiers of other relationship by product and year, no month, for right column. By year and month, no product, for last row. And only by year, no product and month for bottom right. So let's see how it goes on. it shows pretty much same result of previous file because it's the same data. But it's calculated and displayed by another logic to get same results. On field definition, there's no calculation fields, which like only for January or February, and no summary field, only for specific months. There's just one simple summary field. And on relationship graph, you knew that. The layout we saw is attached to this product table occurrence and sees everything from product context. And there are so many table occurrences here. Instead of creating so many calculation fields and summary fields, those TOs narrowing by relationships in vertical, horizontal, it's it's very okay. Narrowed by product and year and month. And month is pretty much hard-coded. Just one field or two field, something like that. So we have quite simpler field definitions here, but as it turns out, the relationship graph is much more complicated. Which is better? We can make Crosstab reports by creating a bunch of TOs and relationships. But do we really need to prepare those TOs that much? Third example is another way of using relationships, which we don't use many relationships, but filtering by portal. Filter records by portal filters calculation instead of a relationship. Let's see how it's gonna happen. Okay. Same report again. There's no monthly fixed calculation field here, and no January only TO or February only TOs. But there are much simpler two relationships here. The layout. This rectangle around each field is a portal. And each portal has one same relational field. This is the summary field from the relationship, which narrowed product and year. And next one is for February, but the field is exactly the same. And TO is the same. The difference is on portal. The portal filter narrows the data only from January from the relationships, which narrows product and year. Next portal filter is only for February. The relationships narrows roughly by product and year. And portal filter is very, very hard to pronounce. Portal filter. Portal filter narrows rest of it, in this case, month. The portals we've seen here have two different relationships. One is only year on the bottom, and one is year and product on the body. But it's also okay if the relationship is just one and it narrows nothing. We can write everything to narrow in portal filter. And if we are running script already, for example, changing this layout to see the result, we can set variable in the script like this. And the calculation in portal filter is maybe like this. Write calculation as a text and set it into variables. Then evaluate it on portal filter as a calculation. In this way, we can specify the filter logic only on script, not layout object. And maybe on script parameter. And this means we can reuse same TOs and same portals for every other purpose and every other report by replacing filter logic in the script as needed in every report. It's still hard way, but a little bit softer, isn't it? So let's take a break. The first one we saw is pretty much hard-coded. We have to prepare a set of calculation fields and summary fields for each column. That means we have to prepare calculation and summary fields for each products if we want to see products on the column. And second one doesn't have a bunch of calculation fields or summary fields, but still has a bunch of TOs and relationships instead. But still pretty much hard-coded. First one is hard-coded on fields, and second one's hard-coded on TOs. Generally, it's same, and both slow. Third one is not hard-coded anymore and much more flexible, but it's still slow. Then, let's try to figure out what is the exact problem of the hard ways and how can we fix it. So, what is the problem? First, it is hard to say flexible. Seeing summaries and vertical is easy on FileMaker, but putting summaries horizontally is much more difficult. It needs many fields or many relationships, and it tends to be hard-coded. And it isn't very fast because it's complicated. Bunch of summary fields or a bunch of relationships or a bunch of summary field objects on the layout. And in any case, we have to evaluate all of them at the same time. It has to calculate summaries on each records horizontally and re-summary them for entire font set vertically. It's kind of expensive. Then let's talk about soft ways. And what do the soft ways mean? It's a thinking about how we avoid disadvantages of hard ways. Not creating schema like fields or relationships per condition, per business logic, but create scripts or calculations instead. Then calculated value won't be stored anywhere but on variables. Extracted variables shown on unstored calculation fields. We don't have to store the result forever. We are happy if we can see the result at this moment. You know, we are talking about the technique called virtual list. Virtual list sometimes fits perfect for this kind of situation. Then, I'd like to introduce you a strong friend of ours. It's execute SQL function. I know some of you aren't happy with talking about execute SQL, but actually it's not very difficult. I swear. I can say it's friendly, kind of. Sometimes. But soon it will be fit you if you try some. It's obedient enough. Is it right? Is that word? With execute SQL function, it doesn't matter which layout we are on. And it doesn't matter what record is currently shown. And we can get any table data from any layout, and we can calculate the data any way we want. And we can put the data anywhere we want. These make us pretty much easier to preparing virtual lists. Then let me show you first example of soft ways. This example is focused on portability. And we have customer information, and also we have sales information related each customer, like this. And I hit monthly sales report button, then we can see sales report of this customer. Only this example is not Crosstab reporting, but very normal one. Because doing Crosstab reporting at the first example of the soft ways could make feeling too complicated. So we progress step by step. And click print button, then preview appeared, and print dialog when continued. Cancel it this time because we have no printer here. Then let's see what's going on. I know I'm doing strange thing, but I just want to open manage database dialog without stopping the script. This report layout is shows this table named report. The table has just one field. Actually, it's three, but the really important thing is one. And this field simply shows a variable. This variable has entire contents of report data. And put the return separated value to variable named report, and calculation fields extracted to each record by each line. The content of variable is like this. If the data have the multiple items in one line, they are separated by tab character, and also displayed on layout in same way. Let me show you what's on the layout. This layout has just one field, and it has tab settings here, like this. If the data has multiple items separated by tab, the items are displayed at each tab position. That's why the items are placed in the right place of each row and when it has multiple items. The field objects have some extra tab settings to display when the data is many items, and the field object also has order resizing option setting. It makes displaying many items properly. Just to resizing window or changing the page orientation to horizontal at the page setup script step. And the script called by the button execute the logic when attached as a parameter. And this is the parameter in this case, like this. It's kind of hard to read for human, but for script, it's easy to read. Parameters are used as materials, which is passed to execute SQL function. We can write everything, like specifying fields to summarize, logic or how to summarize, or search criteria, sort orders, and so on. And also specifying labels of items which expected to display above the data, and maybe title of the report. Prepare the data using execute SQL function based on the materials via script parameters. It means we can get any different styles of report with just one layout, one script. If we pass the script logic for each report, and if the calculation is too expensive, it could take a time when the network is weak or the client is not Mac or PC, but iOS device. That's why the part of creating data is isolated from original script to throw it to the server and execute it on server side. So let's step into subscript. This is what the subscript gets to pass the execute SQL function as a parameter. Took those out from JSON data of parameter, and now it's much easier to read a little bit. Order by and group by are doing like FileMaker layout sub-summary part. Then sum on each items in select makes sub-summary total. So these things are exactly like we always do by sub-summary parse and summary fields, but in SQL this time. And if we can write whole things in SQL, like exact same thing we always do, it means we don't need to prepare a bunch of things we always do, like creating sub-summary parse on layout, or creating summary fields for a specific value or specific report. Then the point is, we can write SQL in any purpose. Then it will return something anyway. So I'm saying we can get anything we want by same script and same layout. Anything might be misleading, but technically, yes, we can. And in a main process, get the result and put it into a variable named report, then return it to original script. On original script, put the data which returned into variable and pause it to let users see the result. As you see, the original script doesn't really do the things important, but all those important and complicated parts are done in subscript. All the original script do is like just getting the result and changing the layout. Then user hit the print button. Perform another common use script for printing. Original script doesn't do anything by itself. If this script is portable enough, it can be used for other reports, showing different data. Let me try to make some different report using this same script and same layout. So, copy this button and paste it on product detail layout. And it's no longer the sales report, but purchase report. Calling same script, but different parameters. Let me make it monthly purchase report of products, not sales report of customer. Changing parameters to purchase purpose, different table, different field, and please pray for me. It will work.
So you didn't really change the from?
I thought someone mentioned it, but this case, I believe this is what I want. and purchase report. And then click it. Not working. Just showing question mark. It should be a problem of from. Yeah. Context is wrong. Order. It works. You know, this is only changing fields in same query. It doesn't seem big deal because both reports have same structure in this example. It looks same as sales report we saw a couple of minutes ago. But this is not sales amount, but it's purchase of the product we are currently looking. And we can write entirely different logic, and we can put different number of items. Those may work as is. In this example, about what and how we summarize, we can specify anything what we want each time by writing SQL queries. Writing each time, write what? The same thing we always do by summary field and sub-summary part. Then, we don't have to prepare layouts for search each specific logic. And we can do anything on just one script and maybe one or few layouts. And also, number of columns is not fixed, like I said. Make the value tab separated and set the tab settings on field object, and maybe anchor settings. Sometimes we don't need fields labels on layout because we can make first row data to field label. But you may still want to prepare some other layouts which have different tab settings. If you think the calculation is too heavy to evaluate, you don't have to evaluate by yourself. You can throw the task to server. So in this case, pretty much focus on portability, whether it's Crosstab or not. By the way, the wording of hard something or soft something, which I'm saying are not commonly used words, at least around FileMaker. Please don't say to your nearest FileMaker developer, I want much softer one, please, or something. Probably no one understands it. And next, in this case, basically the same, but try to make it much more readable. I know some of you thought it doesn't look very fancy in previous example. Sometimes we make things difficult on some part when we make it dry, maybe too much, like previous example. We can't make data beautifully formatted. For example, inserting comma for 1,000 separator or using % symbol, blah, blah, blah. When we put every column in one field, it's very difficult, of course. Then we can prepare some general use calculation fields for each data types. And use them according to data types, what we want to see. Let's make a quick demo of it. It's very quick. From number of months, it's summarized with several levels for salesperson and division on a higher level, and department on higher level, and company. And this is by very normal sub-summary parts, and specify target dates and by start year month and number of months, then put each month in a column. And the value of each month are followed by value of same month of previous year on each level with ratios, like percent, and red color when negative value. These are very difficult when entire data is one field, as we already know. It's better to put number type fields on the layout and define data formatting like this. Of course, everything can be done, but sometimes needs huge effort and not worth. Okay. I could done by really quick. So, just one field is impossible, but putting normal fields is just easy. The next one is focus on speed. First of all, imagine there's a layout like this. It's for inspecting and coordinating monthly working shift schedule. Probably many of you have seen something like this. All the employees on this division and this year and this month are listed and set which day who's going to work. And this layout was made by hard way, pretty much. It was like 31 days of data by 31 relationships. Just like example 2 of hard way, which I showed you earlier. And I have to say, that is not developed by me. And already exists there. I don't know who. And this layout is very slow. Switch to this layout, they have to wait 1 minute just seeing its content. So my mission was make this layout faster anyway. So I tried during the flight from Tokyo to Dallas. Yes, during the DEFCON trip last year. First, I tried without any thoughts. Just put it on execute SQL and virtual list and didn't really care about speed. It was done by 20 seconds rather than 1 minute. I can say it's better, but can't say it's good enough. With a little thoughts, made it much better. 20 seconds to 3-4 seconds. And think up a little more, slightly better than 3-4 seconds. Maybe it was 1-2 seconds. Then I brought it to the customer after I came back from DEFCON, of course. First, I used one big complex query to getting entire data. It could call simple, but the simplicity is relying on one complex query. I don't demo this version because it's too slow. So let me demo the later version. It was not exactly no time, but it was close, isn't it? At least better than 1 minute. On the start of the main process, I split the data on left side of the layout showing people's name and right side showing numbers of the dates. Then generate each value separately. Plus, I generate the numbers of right part line by line by looping on people, rather than generate entire values at one time. Generating whole value by one shot is good, of course, but it could take time because it's much more expensive. Why is it expensive? The reason is it needs complex calculation which combine values vertical and horizontal and has to place each value to right cell. Resolving the calculation into each line makes much more simpler calculation and run faster because target is narrowed to only one line. But how much faster the simpler calculation is? Evaluating 30 times of simple calculation is faster than evaluating one complex calculation. Sometimes, not every time. And eventually, I use the third version. I didn't even get the data of first day to 31st day at the one query, but getting just one current day of current person and loop it for 31 times per person. Looping by each person and looping by 31 days. Split and reconstruct the SQL queries to several small parts. And it turns out I found this way was fastest, collecting the data in very simple logic, one by one, and append it to the result to variable. It may sound like a cliche. I don't know the word, but doing simple things 30 times seems faster instead of doing one cool, complex thing to get every data by one shot. For example, like asked in-head calculation, how much is 84 times 23? Trying to multiply in our head needs lots of resources of brain. But some guy very good at doing 84 plus 84, 23 times in fire instead. The brain is not really smart, but great at doing simple tasks with full of spirit. Something like that. I think the computer is the kind of guy like that. So, I have 2 minutes, 3 minutes more. Quick demo. Maybe I can do the really quick. Click this Show Summary button, then summary fields will appear at the right and the bottom. And I click it. Did you see it was a little lag there while he's thinking? There were another summary fields at the bottom, but they don't matter, I believe, because they are not calculated until I scroll to the bottom of this window. Only this area matters. The button is toggled to hide summary after click it. If I leave it at showing summaries, it will be the same when I go back to the list and come back to this layout again. Let's see how it works. Did you see it's a bit slower than first time? We came to this layout without showing summaries. Let me scroll it to the bottom. Maybe not. Scroll it. It's still thinking, and it seems obviously calculation load increased. Probably the cost of calculating bottom row, which calculating vertical summary, which we just saw. I think the cost of taking this much time is grand total of bottom right. Calculating of bottom right grand total is combination of calculating horizontal summary on each row and do it every row, and then calculating every row's rightmost value result on vertically. It's very expensive calculations. But if that was the reason, we can fix it. We already generate the value day by day and append it to 31 times. We can make the row total to 30-second calculation on each row and make it total value of their layout, then at least the right total will not calculate it on every row and every time when we see it. Here already summarized, I just displayed this layout like other 30 days. So we need to summarize only on bottom row, which very obediently way, not tricky way. So let me test it. So I comment it out and uncomment the script step and remove the summary fields and replace the calculation field. And go back to list and come back to detail again. Then it's much better, right? This seems the appending the rightmost summary is not make this script slow. And hide and show it is not bad, right? So kind of like that. because no time. So I want to recap here. If your customer is always fast, if you keep it simple. And sometimes splitting complex things may help you. And despite such things I told, but don't underestimate hard ways. Hard ways. You can do it anything you want in your way, your method. Even if you're not familiar with scripting or SQL things, all you have to do is just stick to it until it works. It's definitely an advantage of FileMaker platform, right? If you need to create a bunch of fields, it's okay, just do it. If it's hard to make product to column, just don't do it. You can export it and bring it to Excel anytime. But your development skill will be getting better and better. You will, I promise. It's FileMaker. Then try more sophisticated way with full of fun. And best way may vary and depends on your priority, but you can enjoy the seek out what's the best way for you. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry. Maybe no Q&A time.
ありがとうございました。ちょっと日本語で。